What's up, everybody? Welcome to our show, as you would call it. Two Guys How To. It's Keith. June's over there inside this car. Today we're working on gonna fix the driver's side axle on a 2012 Nissan Rogue. Customer actually been noticing it, that it's been vibrating for a while, and we checked the CV boot, and the rubber part of the boot is totally gone, cracked, and all the grease is slung out of it. So it's just a matter of time before it just seizes up. I'm running to go get parts now. June's gonna get busy and get the wheel off. We've got a tire chalk. Make sure you guys chalk the back wheel so it doesn't roll back on you. And he's got some jacks up underneath there, some jack stands. The main jack's in the front, he jacked it up, but he's got two jack stands under there. And always safety first. So he's gonna go ahead and crack the lug nuts on this wheel, get it apart, start splitting the tie rod ends, take apart the brake assembly. And we'll probably put a new lower control arm on this too. Usually the bushings dry rot and go bad, and it's just as cheap to get a whole new control arm today to save some time than ordering the cheaper bushings and pressing them in. So we know the axle's bad. I've got the control arm on order too, and I'm gonna head to the store and grab that while June gets busy on this and explains what's going on the best he can while he's doing the work. So let's do this.
Get this pin out of here. Got some pliers. Big boy, 32 millimeter. Alright guys, what we're going to do, we're going to try to split the ball joint. We're going to use I think they call it crow's foot.
Yeah, we're going to use a tie rod to split this ball joint off, but we got a brand new A-arm here that comes with, this control arm comes with a brand new ball joint. And we're going to try to do that. You want to split the back with a chisel as well.
Try it.
Or just try to go in on it strong. notch back there, so we're trying to open it up so we can get the ball joint to pop down. Almost out. All right, a couple more. Let's see if we can get it. Wider to split it easier. I think you're gonna have to put something under there to shim it. That chisel go back in there, up underneath that. Just need a little. I think I might have ran 2 of those crow's feet in there last time. Got it? Go for it. I think I ran 2 of them in there last time. So by doing that, we pretty much just hacked up the ball joint, but the car's got 80 some odd thousand on it. We might as well just go ahead and get this lower control arm. We actually got this from AutoZone, and I think it was 100 and some odd. You can get it online way cheaper. We'll give you the part number. It's a 521-725, and it's the lower control arm on the driver's side. And it comes complete, brand new ball joint, these bushings in here that absorb shock when you're driving. Everything's brand new. And 9 times out of 10, when he gets that control arm off of there, it's going to need to be replaced anyway. So every time we get an axle, we get the lower control arm to go with it, and it just makes it a lot easier to get the install. So you need me right now? He's going to keep operating, taking this apart, and get it loose enough to where we can just pull this axle on out. And you can see up inside there, there's axle grease slung everywhere from that CB boot just broke open.
Yeah. You want to go closer?
I'm going to go and get some dirtier clothes.
Okay.
And head it, and then help him get it done. And you can see down in there, it's a little dark, but you can see all the grease down there on that lower control arm right there where the joint is. You got your flex there, it bolts in, and the ball joint down here that we just used a tie rod end splitter and split it. We used that and another chisel to give us a little more height, and officially got it off. But you can see the boot is busted right here. And you see all this oil on my finger. So once that boot busts, the oil comes out of that universal joint, and it's just a matter of time before that axle is just going to end up breaking right there and leave you stranded. So change it out. Let's get busy, get down in here and start breaking some stuff free. All right, so let's go ahead and just get the bolts out of this lower control arm. I got to go and get some dirty clothes. You need me to hold it? You got a bolt there, a bolt on the other side, and the ball joint that we took off, and that's the only 3 things that hold it on. All right, guys, so June loosened this upper part of the control arm bolt where he's pointing to near that green sticker, and it allowed him to free up, and you can see the socket. Take the socket off once for him, and see how he's able to put it in there and push on that control arm, and it actually loosens up enough to get the socket on there. And he's got two 6-inch extensions, suit 2 extensions. And he's got a 22 millimeter impact socket on there on that middle bolt, and he's going to go ahead and just hit it. Yeah, the breaker bar. He's got to use the breaker on it because it's so tight. And he's got all those extensions. It makes it even harder to get the tension he needs to break it free. All right, so he's got that breaker bar on it going up to the last bolt on the lower control arm. And he's going to feed in a piece of pipe to get more leverage. Except you might need a smaller pipe because you're going to hit the ground, aren't you? He's going with no extension on it. You got it to move some. What about a half-inch drive with a smaller extension where we can move it and keep backing it up?
Could probably turn it from up there now.
Hit it with the impact. You got it to move, right? Alright, so you got it to move. Let's go ahead and see if this impact will work now. We'll go back to those two 6-inch extensions with the impact gun and see if we can get her to come apart. You can see these got green on them. They're made not to really come back out. You probably should use some Loctite when going back in. We're almost getting into it enough to where we can get this damn axle out of here. He's taking that lower control arm out, and you can see all this grease everywhere. It's just slung everywhere. The ball joint, and once again, you can see back to the rubber. Remember how I said the rubber? There's dry rot all in here. So even though you might want to save this ball joint, the rubber inside here and in here is just bad. So you're better off getting a brand new control arm. There it is in a bag. It comes with the ball joint. It comes with brand new rubber. It comes with the brand new ball joint here. All the rubber's brand new. Everything, you'll get another 80,000 miles out of this stuff. And there's your part number. This one's made by Duralast. It's the 521-725. And you can get it online. It'll probably cross-reference over to that, or you can go to AutoZone and grab one for about $1.25. Yeah, now comes the fun part, getting the axle out of the back of the hub there. And June's just putting the nut back on.
Put it flush. We'll take a tip flush.
And he's got this flush right here. You can see the nut right there. It's flush, and he's going to hit that with a dead blow hammer. It's a special hammer designed for imposing impact on something without harming the actual object it's hitting. It's not going to bend the metal. It's not going to dent it and strip these threads or anything like that. So he's going to go and grab that, and we're going to see if we can physically move this axle out of this hub this way, drop it down, move everything out of the way like this, and slide that axle. In theory, should come right out. All right, so June's got the dead blow hammer. We're going to hit that nut and drive that axle out. Shouldn't take but a couple wraps of it. Once that nut goes back in there and bottoms out, it's pretty much as far as it's going to go. There we go.
Just take the nut off and it should be good.
Yeah, take the nut off. Hopefully we can move this whole assembly out of the way and get this axle pulled out easily, because we want to get this thing back together before 5 o'clock tonight. And let's see if it wants to come out. Sometimes you've got to use a slap hammer. Oh, let me get a tray for the transmission fluid. You can see where it's coming out of the axle there. All right, we got a drip tray under there that we forgot to put under there. So when he pulls that axle out, the transmission fluid's gonna go down in that tray. So you wanna make sure you've got some extra quart or so to top off the transmission fluid when you do this. It's coming out pretty good. So you might even want, I would recommend just get 4 quarts, maybe 6 quarts, have them around, because basically you're almost changing all the transmission fluid with as much that's coming out of there. And you can see the axle, all one piece, split right there, grease is in there. In this particular axle, we got at Advanced or AutoZone, excuse me, and it's a CV boot axle. It actually has all the CV boots on it, lifetime warranty, DP treated ball tracks, extended life, yada yada. I was trying to get him a number on it real quick, and there's the number. It's a 11225, N as in Nancy, or another number is a N as in Nancy, I as intelligent, -8348. It's made by Duralast, so we're gonna unbox this thing and get it crammed up in there. There she blows, brand new axle nut. So we're gonna do some comparisons. June's matching them up down on the ground. It looks good to me. Splines look the same. The nut looks the same, the thread pattern looks the same. So we're ready to install this. And basically it's just gonna go right back up into the transmission there. You can see where it's all that fluid's dripping out. And let's go ahead and see if we can get it fitted in there. I'll try to get up in here. But we didn't show you that when June pulled it out. That's where it came from. All right, so June's just he's priming that up, just putting a little bit of transmission fluid onto that seal on where the axle kind of goes up into the transmission seal. Lubing it up, and it's gonna go right back up into there. We were gonna change the seal, but we can't get one today, and it wasn't leaking before. So as the old timers say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So we're not gonna fix it until it does break. And June's gonna put that transmission, or the axle seal, the axle right up into the transmission there. And you just gotta spin it. It'll click in with those tines. You could feel it go in, and you'll feel it go in, and it'll slide up in there. You might have to pull it out and kind of put it back in and just move it clockwise or counterclockwise a notch or two. Boom. So he moved it about 3 times, and it went up in there. Brand new nut, brand new CV boot, rubber's brand new at the top there and the bottom. So you just want to feed that back through the back of that hub assembly. Once again, he just jiggled it a little bit until it popped all the way through. He's going to get that brand new axle nut. And basically that thing just slides back down, and you've got a cotter. Did it come in a cotter pin?
Yeah, it's in the box.
And the cotter pin will just go back through, and that'll hold that axle nut from backtracking out of there.
That's it.
All right, we're ready to put this lower control arm on, and before we begin, June's got the blue Loctite. Nissan has a green color on there. We don't have any green. That might be Nissan's own thing. So we're just gonna put some blue Loctite. Blue is removable, red is permanent, so we're gonna go with the blue. So next time if we have to work on this axle, it'll come out and these bolts won't loosen up while they're in the customer's car here. So he's being pretty generous, and we can go and try this again, get this lower control arm on here, putting the bolts down in there, and he's just finger tightening them, getting them started with his fingers. That way he doesn't strip them out. And you can feel if they're going in sweet, you know, nice right there. When he hits them with the impact gun, he knows he won't cross thread anything. And then we've got the 2 bolts there. We got one. The hardest one is in the middle. Yeah, and that one there. That's the one he had to move the swing arm or the sway bar out of the way. And he's got the last but not least, the one way in the back here. And that's all the way towards right where the passenger or the driver's side foot is, down on the floor there. He's going to go ahead and tighten these up. He's going to start with the middle one, which was the last one he took out before, and just zing them down and knock this out. And he's just going to hit the other 2, and we're going to get moved on to the hub assembly. So, one way at the bottom. Last but not least on that control arm is the one underneath there. It's a little harder to get. He's hitting it with the impact gun on the bottom and a wrench on the top. Good to go. That blue Loctite will hold them in and keep everything from backing out. So we're ready just to go ahead and install that lower ball joint and tighten up the swing arm, the sway bar, and we're good. He's just lining that thing up. You can see once you get the threads up through there, the nut will pull it up the rest of the way. It's just a little bit, you might have to twist it to get the threads in right. Lined up pretty good. There's the spline on there needs to line up pretty good. He's got that dead blow hammer. Just give it a little bit, see if it goes in nice and easy. All right, with a little bit of shaking, you just adjusted it, it popped right up in there. So that's good, and then we can go ahead and get the nut on the inside here. All right, ball joint went up in there with a little bit of shaking. June's gonna put the bolt, tie rod that tightens the tie rod knuckle back together there. Get that started. Bolt that together. Same exact way as it all came off, same way it's going back on. This side. There's an 18 millimeter.
Yep.
Yeah. That drew up. Took a little bit, but it drew up in there. It's got the tie rod end. It's going to go back on. Move that caliper on out of the way there. And we've got the tie rod end over here. Going back on the same way as June showed you when he took it off.
Oh, you want to show them this?
Huh?
The top there takes Torx.
Yeah, and this particular one takes the Torx. We're in the very top of the bolt, right here.
Torx 27.
Yeah, it's 27 on the Torx. Looks like a star.
Basically do that. 14 mil.
So you're tightening it both from the top. You're tightening it from the top as well as holding it from the top as well. Basically the Torx threads go in reverse. It's the main nut that's tightening like a regular nut, righty-tighty, lefty-loosely, so it's just kind of doing one opposite.
Yeah, this keeps it from spinning inside there.
Yeah. It's like an internal bolt inside that tie rod end. You want to draw it up through there, through that hub assembly.
That's it.
June's just applying a little bit of grease where the brake pads slide on that brake bracket that we just installed, and you've got your pads are gonna sit on here and slide in and out right there, pressing up against this rotor here. So we've just got a big tub of grease that we keep around, and you lube the top and the bottom where the pads can go right on there, and they'll slide a little bit easier, not get end up when they're rolling down the road. I'm gonna go ahead and get these brakes on same way as they came off. And they've got some holes here in the pads, you can see. And that's where these little springs go. We just call it brake hardware basically, but those are going to help to where those brake pads, it kind of keeps them sprung back off the rotor. And they just keep it basically to where you get a little bit better mileage. They're not wearing down the rotor. They're keeping it off while the caliper isn't extended open all the way. Boom, installed that right back on. The caliper's on, he's got the bolts. We're in the home stretch of this right now. And those look like what, a 13 mil or something? 14. 14 millimeter on those. I'm just going to snug those down, and hell, we're ready to put the wheel on, aren't we?
Yep.
And we'll double check everything before we put the wheel on. We know we did the control arm. We got all three of those bolts there tightened down with blue Loctite, and the bolt went up inside. The ball joint bolt went up back inside the lower clamp on that hub assembly. Axle's in, nuts on, cap to nut, new pin, so we're good. Greased the brakes up while we're in there. We looked at the brakes. The brake pads look in great shape. So we're ready just to double check. You got the upper control arm, the swing arm's tight, right up near that green sticker. All that's tightened up. The lower one is tight. That's it. We're good. We just need to get the tire on and top this off with some transmission fluid, and should be rolling down the road again in no time. And we needed this done tonight because the customer actually has to work early in the morning. So if we didn't get it done today, somebody would have been transporting her down there, or she would have had to take a taxi. So we're ahead of schedule now. Get this wheel back on and get the CVT transmission fluid for this Nissan. They have the CVT trans in the front, and that's what type of fluid needs to go back in here. And I'm going to go to the shop and see if we can get some off the shelf and show you guys what it's going to take. I know those are the bolts are hard to get in. They're very small, and if this is the same vehicle before, I think I'd swap those out because one was stripped by over tightening, so I had to find one locally. Actually, no, I did buy the OEM nuts on it, or I found one in the shop. It was one that needed it or something, and he's got that stupid lock nuts. No one steals your rims, but I don't know why somebody would steal stock Nissan Rogue rims.
One guy's trash, another guy's trash.
I know. And we'll just go ahead and start tightening these up. And he showed you the special tool that normally the customers will have in their glove box if they're keep track of their stuff. This is what's going to get that bolt off. Nothing's going to get that bolt off. It's got that special little star kind of inside there, and it matches right up with the star on this particular one stud here. Wheel nut. If you don't have it, you're not getting any of them off. You just spin it until it locks in. And I had it locked in, and I took it off there. He's just going to go ahead and cross patch it off. See, he's not over tightening it. He's just slowing him up and then keeps up on the torque tighter. Last but not least is to let the car down. Get this drip tray out from underneath and take the jack stands down, and we'll go ahead and top this thing off with some transmission fluid. Let me go get some. Need up a little higher. Watch yourself. All right. Let's get this drip tray out of here. Made a little bit of a mess today, but not bad. We'll throw some wood chips on it and it'll absorb that up. Let's get this other jack stand out of here.
I got a jack that's down.
Yeah, okay. Good. Good?
Yep.
Let's see if I can slide this out. Yep, ready to set it down. Good to go. Get some transmission fluid, and we're gonna start this motor. We're gonna add a couple cords. We're gonna add at least a cord down here. Here's your trans dip here. Your oil check's right here. And directly across from it, probably about maybe 15 inches, is your trans check stick here. And that's going to be it right there. So let me get some of the CVT for Nissan transmissions. We're going to add a cord or two, start it up, and add it while it's running. We'll keep adding to it and checking the level on the stick. All right, everybody, so we got the axle in. Everything looks good over there. The car's back down on the ground. The tire chalk's taken out. This thing's ready to roll. I'm actually gonna change the oil on a little bit later, but we wanna finish up this video. And because when we pulled that axle out, we lost probably about 3-4 quarts of transmission fluid. And we got this from, it says CarQuest, but we got it at Advanced Auto. They're combined now, they're one unit. But it's CVT. This is specifically for this variable transmission in these Nissan. So it's a little salty on the price, about 10 bucks a quart. If you can get online, you're better off getting it before you do the axle change. And I got 5 quarts, so we're just gonna go ahead and pour this in. I know for sure by looking at the pail, the drip tray, it had about 3 quarts in it. So let's go ahead and just get this going. What I did is I pulled the dipstick out right here. You got your oil check right down here and your transmission checks right here. So I pulled that out. I'm gonna set that to the side. I got my little funnel here, the little end. It's about smaller than a dime. It'll go down inside that transmission tube right there and sit upright. And I'm gonna pour at least a good 2 quarts in there before I start this vehicle. And then I'm gonna start it and then I'm gonna run it through gear, in and out, back through the gears. And just top it off. You got to check this while it's running in park, and I'll show you where the check marks are on the actual stick. And this is fully synthetic. I was wondering why it was so thin. This is probably a little bit even pricier, but that's okay. I got to get this customer back on the road. And you can check on this stick here. It's got a little clip here. When it's down in there, you got to push that clip in to get this to come out. This particular one's broken, so it goes in and out easy. But yours is going to have a little clip right there. You're going to have to put a little screwdriver, press it in with your finger to get it to pop up. And you can see these 2 notches right here on the stick. You've got your cross area that's a little rough, that shows you the optimum operating range. And you got 2 little notches, that's gonna be low, and your top notch is pretty much where they want you to set it at. So let's go ahead and add 1 more quart to it. I think it's probably gonna take about 3.5 to 4. Just seeing how much came out into that drip tray that we had. I'm just gonna start off with a full solid 2 quarts. Start it, run it through gear, and then check it. Through gear, and by running through gear means I had my foot on the brake. And don't forget, we messed with that brake when we took the axle out, so it's going to be a little spongy at first. Just pump it up and it'll get harder. I kept my foot on the brake and I ran it into reverse, neutral, drive, all the way down into drive, back into neutral, back into reverse. I did that about 2 or 3 times, and you could probably watch the motor shift forward and back. And then that way I know that pump's sucking in that fluid properly. So we'll go ahead and take this funnel out. June's under there, he's looking for leaks or anything that's coming out of that seal. And let's go ahead and just take this nice dry stick, we wiped it off, and let's dip it down in there and see where it comes on this stick. And it's gonna be hard to read. I always rotate it over and flip it. It looks like it might need about another half quart or so. Let's check one more time. Don't forget, you got your cold level is the lowest notch on the stick, and your hot level is the highest notch on the stick. So this vehicle is cold. And right now it's right in between both of them. So that, I think that's going to be fine. When it gets hot, that transmission gets hot, that fluid level is going to rise up, and it's going to be exactly where the recommendations are on it. And sometimes you got to dip it about 4 or 5 times, and the drier the rag, the cleaner the rag, the better reading. I'm going to look at it one more time. Pretty full. So I got 5 quarts, but I think it's going to use about 2.5. I'm going to let it run, and I think we're good to go. I'm going to let it run for about 5 minutes, check it again, make sure it's up to that top mark, at least in between both of the marks. Once it's up to the operating condition in the vehicle, then we want it at that top mark, or as close to that top mark as possible. You definitely don't want to overfill it. So I'm done here. I'm running up the road. And till next time, do it yourself, save that money. We showed you how to do the axle. It's not that hard. Just take your time, take pictures of everything, double check, make sure you put everything back together. You don't have anything left off, no extra nuts, bolts, or pins, or anything like that. Do it yourself, save that money, change the axle. I'm out of here. 2 Guys How To, get some of it. Subscribe and like, check us out. We got more stuff coming up. What's up, Iggy? Talk to him before I shut the video down. Oh yeah. Yep. You're not a pig, you're a lawyer. He's not a pig, he's a lawyer. Peace. I'm not a pig, I'm a lawyer.